Electric Cafe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's video is a music review of a four-track EP by Zemar Kambas. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. I believe the B is silent, Kambas. Um, he's a Hungarian techno producer. Other than that, I don't know anything else really about. This four-track EP is called Echo Journeys, and it's on Grayscale's Mood Series Records out of Lithuania. This is the 132nd Mood Series release in Grayscale's long-running series, now going for uh, moving on its sixth year, and just amazing to think 132 releases. This EP is coming out in roughly a few weeks, probably sometime in February, if not early March. And the first track is called Echoes of the Rail. So I'm going to review each of the four tracks, and you'll get an opportunity to hear the tracks as well for the first time. And tell us what you think as well, if you'd like, in the comments below. If you'd like me to review something by some music that you've done, or if you'd like me to review something else by somebody else, just email me below, and I'd be happy to talk to you about doing that. So yeah, here's track number one, Echoes of the Rail, on Echo Journeys EP by Zemar Kambas. All right, so that was Echoes of the Rail. I like how it starts right away with the melody. That's kind of unique. A lot of techno, starts with a beat and kind of builds up, and sometimes, one thing I really like about techno in general and dub techno specifically is the building of tracks and the pacing of a dub techno track and a techno track, and I think it's pretty creative to kind of jump right into it and get right into the melody. It hooks you in right away, and the beat's catchy as well. The depth on the chords at the beginning is really nice, and of course throughout really the track it really continuously holds your attention, which sometimes in dub techno can be a little bit you kind of have selective hearing or selective listening when listening to dub techno. Like you might just focus in on one particular thing, and maybe you listen to it again and you sort of focus on another thing, or sometimes you of course take it all in at the same time. And the first time listening to this, that the chord work immediately grabs your attention and holds your attention, and you feel like you need to listen to it again to really kind of get any nuances in there, because I was really focused in on the depth of the chord work and the creativity and the creativity going on with it as well, which was cool. The rhythm is really crisp and tight, nice snap to it. I always like a good crisp snare, the really kind of give it some snap and a feel of like a strong techno track within the rhythm is always good. Um, what else? What else? What else? Um, the break at 4 minutes is nice. It's kind of a good melodic hook that really kind of comes out of the break. Really kind of ties it together and does a good job of kind of piecing everything together, kind of taking it on home for the last couple minutes. Really solid track overall. Overall, really nice production. Solid production for sure. But I think it's very good tracks. And a really strong opener to the EP as well. I really feel like um, it it broke in nicely, kind of eased you into it. You got an idea of his strong production, and one thing that's always cool is when you hear an artist for the first time, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, you feel comfortable in that he knows how to make a good techno track. Like there's so much like there's a lot out there to critique in techno and stuff like that, and that's part of what I enjoy doing in reviewing electronic music and specifically techno as well, because it can be very intricate, but there's an energy and there's a certain uh, nostalgic or classic sound that or that maybe the artist is trying to capture or replicate, and so there's a lot of different angles that a techno artist can make. They can make a song for the club, they can make a song for just listening home or driving or anything like that, but there's a lot of different moods in techno as well, and different 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 emotions come out of techno, like most music. But um it's good when you can feel confident that they can make a good rhythm in techno, and it's kind of aligning. Like there used to be a series in the mid '90s. It was called Trust the DJ, and it was like a DJ series in the UK, and I always liked that name because it was like if it came out on that release, like, and you liked other releases on that in that series, you could trust the DJ that they would bring some good music, and you weren't trying to like have that kind of like that fear of trying to figure them out and like like, oh, is this going to be a good night, or is this going to DJ going to play good stuff? Like, if they were on that series, they were gonna, and you like that series, they were gonna be right in line with that series, and you knew what to expect. And that's something that is is really important in any kind of label or series that you have, or um, or really an artist if you like as well. And the great thing about Mood Series and Grayscale in general is you feel really confident that the it's going to be well above average dub techno in my opinion. And then also it feels great when you can hear a new producer like this and they come out right out of the gate with the first track on an EP, and you feel confident that it's going to be the rest of the EP is going to be really solid as well. So that's always a good feeling when you hear a new producer. And so far this it sounds like a really strong producer, and I'm not surprised because Grayscale is always on the above average to really great dub techno in my opinion. There's really nothing I would probably put in the subpar category, or below a 5 out of 10 in probably the history of the label. So I can always say it's going to be at least above okay, if not most 90% of it is going to be six to a 9, 6 to a 10 in the good to excellent range. For the genre of dub techno specifically, and this track I give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's right on the low side of a very good track, but is nonetheless very very good track and good opener. All right, so we're going to go on to the second track called "Escape from the Forest." All right, that was Escape from the Forest. Another strong track. I really like the creative kind of muted chords at the beginning, and then gets a little bit more airy. Deep bass comes in. Track really kind of comes together in it, and it builds up in a nice way that's a little bit subliminal too. It's not really obvious, and sort of building or adding something every like 4 bars or 8 bars or something like that. It's not very consistent, so it kind of sneaks up on you, and then all of a sudden around 140, the everything seems to come together, and I think that's kind of creative as well. And really and then it starts like the rolling bass line, which really kind of gets the track into a nice groove. And it's a good combination of some rolling chords and some chords that sort of attack and sort of add a layer, another good layering and a little bit more atmosphere. So that's I really like that part as well. The chords that come in at 315. Um, I'm not the best at explaining this because I'm not a composer, but for the most part, it seems like the chords attack, and then at around 315, these chords seem to go the other way and sort of, in a way, almost slow the momentum down of the track so it gets into a little bit of a groove for like 35 to 40 seconds. And that's when the groove really kind of sinks in, and you're like, oh, this is really catchy groove. I really like the rhythm of this track. And so that's a nice kind of balance of it kind of building, and maybe that kind of goes to the escape of the forest feeling. Like it's kind of there's some kind of energy and maybe a little bit of anxiety and sort of feeling like it's picking up pace and getting more up tempo, and then it kind of maybe you kind of escape the forest at that point, and it sort of slows down, and you feel a little bit more comfortable, and it kind of gets into a little bit more of a groove, kind of subliminally. So I really like the build and the kind of pace and kind of come down, and then kind of gets into a groove, which is really cool. The short vocal, there's a sounds like a girl's vocal in there, a couple parts, maybe like 5 or 6 times, and it's kind of like has like a nice pitch and a nice echo sound to it, and that's a nice touch as well. I really like the production on here. And there's also a couple, the pings of the melody is really nice, and then also um, there's another sound in there. I'm a little forgetting a little bit. I just heard it once, but there's another sort of sound in there about 3/5 of the way down that's a little bit unique, and it's a little bit I wouldn't say industrial for fear of saying like thinking it sounds like very but I don't want to say mechanical, but it's a kind of a clanging sound in the rhythm that sort of adds. That's a really nice touch as well. Um, Sometimes when I say industrial, I kind of mean industrial, not like the genre, but a little bit more of the I guess the sound and the echo on some things in dub techno kind of sound like field recording, or it sounds a little bit mechanical, or maybe it sounds like it's in a warehouse. Like there's certain echo and stuff that give it kind of a feel of a place, and sometimes feels like a city, or the atmosphere feels like it's kind of dystopian and kind of a little moody, and a lot of space, and creates just a lot of different atmospheres. The genre can can make you feel like you're being immersed in. And so when I say industrial, I don't mean necessarily like industrial sounding like the genre, but there is kind of like an echo on it that makes it feel a little bit industrious or industrial, I guess. It's kind of hard to explain, but hopefully you know what I mean. But um, I just don't want to say mechanical for fear of it sounding like you think I'm sounding like I'm like it being like a robot or something. It's more of of it being like a place that has sort of like an echo, maybe like a warehouse or something like that, or an empty 80-year-old factory or something like that. It kind of has that kind of feel a lot in dub techno, and that goes to the sound of grayscale in general is that kind of, and that's why the color. I assume that's why the color was chosen of gray, because it has that. It's not light or dark, right? It's right in the middle, and there's so much to explore in the in between stages between the two colors of black and white, and the emotions within black and white, and everything that is moody in between that is really nice. It's just it's the balance of the two, right? It's not going to the extreme, but it's somewhere in the middle, and you figure out where that is. And Grayscale always does a really good job of blending those moods, and they're almost like colors in a way. Like when you think of like an artist, like when they paint with colors, like colors are very moody. Like you think of like blue, is a moody kind of, is supposed to be like a depressing color, where white is kind of light and pure, and you know maybe virgin, or just all the things that white kind of presents. And then there's black, which is obviously dark, and there's all those things, that adjectives that you could give towards black, but all the colors in between, and well, not the colors in between, but the grayscale colors in between can provide all kinds of different emotions to me anyways. But I really like the production on here. I do like the groove a little bit better on this one. I do like the melody in the first one a little bit more, but when I compare the two, I like this one a touch better. It's definitely, um, I wouldn't say more dancey, but it is kind of more dancey actually. I mean, it's definitely more got a tighter groove, and really it's more catchy. And I really like the creative kind of intricate parts in the track as well. So I give it a seven and a quarters, 7.25 to be exact. So 7 and 1/4, just a little bit better than the first track of seven 7.0. Um, I just recently changed my scoring on my song, so I just did it before because I'm starting to do some techno, and I think a 1 through 10 with quarter stars is more accurate than a 1 through 5 with quarter stars, because I'm going to be doing so much techno stuff. So I think it also correlates to the album score a lot better. And it's, if I rate everything a 7, then it's easier to rate the album a 7. So I'm going to kind of change to that, and I think that'll work a little bit better for me. But yeah, 7 and 1/4 stars on that. And then track 3 we're going to go into, which is called Cold Sun Walk. All right, so that was Cold Sunwalk. Uh, I I like the nature sounds right off the get go. The birds chirping, some like a crow, some crows kind of. What do crows do? Cackle or caw? I guess crows caw, right? This one's obviously a bit more atmospheric. The deep bass is really nice. The chords kind of swirl like they're kind of like clouds, which is always really cool. Which is always an effect that's um, well done on this track, and I always appreciate that kind of attention to the atmosphere. I like the last minute especially. Um, the bass. It's really all about the nature bass and the atmosphere in here, and it goes well with the track title as well. The ambient ending really kind of takes it to another level for me. Really kind of embellishing everything that happened before by doing that, and that's what's key about this track is it has a nice ending and uh, yeah, I just really like the last minute or so, especially kind of raised the score for me. I did have the album, in a good kind of a six out of 10, but the last minute or so kind of bumped it up for me up to a six and a half. So I gave it a 6.5 out of 10, right in between good and very good. So still a really strong track and nice atmosphere. But this one's, sometimes with when you only hear the track the one time, there's tracks that kind of are straightforward and a little bit more obvious and they kind of show themselves and show you everything they got in one listen, and you might pick up some intricate things here and some different different things about the rhythm and maybe some different sort of patterns that you might have missed in the first time, but for the most part you get it with the first track. This track is a track that kind of grows on you, and in some ways it's probably more listenable. In If you listen to the track 10 times, it's probably a little bit more listenable in a long-term way, more so than even the first two tracks, and I can definitely see that with this track, especially with the really nice ambient ending and the nature sounds and stuff like that. um, I really like that as well, so I can definitely see this track growing on me for sure. But first listen, this one doesn't have as much going on with it. Maybe it's not as intricate and as possibly creative as the first two tracks in a way. So maybe that I kind of it is pretty straightforward, but I do like the pacing of it, and I think that's how it grows on you. But I don't think this one is as creative as the other two tracks, but still a very strong track in a way, and a really enjoyable and still strong production. Six is not a low score. It means it's good. So 6.5 is right. It's on its way to being very good. So yeah, we're gonna go on to the last track called "Unsaved Project," and this will be the last track on the album, on the EP. All right, so that was the last track called Unsaved Project. A little tighter beat on this one. This one's probably definitely the most dub sounding, the most closest to that reggae vibe, that reggae dub vibe. The percussion is a little bit more natural, more islandy, more tribal. The 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 bass and everything has a nice bounce to it. Definitely, if you're a little bit more towards the reggae side of dub, you probably really would favor this one maybe over some of the other ones that are a little bit more techno. Um, this has a little bit more straightforward track on this. I think it's really good production. Not necessarily in of my favorite. Probably my least favorite of the four, unfortunately, but that's just kind of a preference thing. There's still a strong track, still well produced. Um, it is in the right place, in the right mood, and stuff like that. Like maybe out and about, like hearing this track would probably be a little bit more ideal than sitting here and over analyzing it like sometimes I do. But it doesn't grab me as much as the other three tracks. But still, the production is strong. I still think it's a good track. I give it 6 out of 10 on my rating. And so for the overall of the album, there's 20. The ratings add up to a 26 and three quarters divided by four tracks, which is a 6.68. So that correlates to about a 67 out of 100, right on the higher side of a good album, almost a very good. So really strong EP on Grayscale once again. Um, very consistent label and a strong EP for a new artist that I've never heard of, and definitely be looking for more from them, and hopefully they'll be back on the label in the future, so I can check out some of their more music. But I'll definitely keep an eye on them, and hopefully I can learn a little bit more about them and hear more music by them. But solid EP, definitely my favorite track is track number two, Escape from the Forest. But a close second is Echoes of the Rail, the first track. So, but a nice, well balanced EP. The first one's a little darker, a little more traditional, kind of deep techno with some dub, and the second track, kind of a little bit more of a rolling bass line, more atmosphere, and then the third track, probably the most atmospheric one, and kind of as the EP kind of evolves from techno a little bit more towards dub and through the four tracks as well. So it just kind of ends on more of a traditional uh, dub influenced track, as far as like it being a little bit more tribal and island sound, and maybe a little bit more tied to the original, essence of dub in the last two tracks, especially. So just a really solid album overall, a really good album, and well balanced for only four tracks, and a good showing for sure. 67 out of 100 for Zemar Kambas from Hungary. His EP on Grayscale called Echo Journeys. All right, thanks so much for listening. I hope you liked it, and be curious if you want to drop your opinion down below, and tell me what you think of each track, or what you think of the overall. And I'll also put a link down the bottom where you can possibly purchase it if you like from the label itself. And then also, if you're interested in me reviewing some of your music, or somebody else's music, just email me. My link is in the bottom as well. My email is in the bottom, so just email me as well, and I'd be interested in talking to you. All right, thanks so much.
Electric Cafe.